Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it, we're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can know where the conversation is taking place. Also, please take a moment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And in the case of Facebook and YouTube, make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll be notified as soon as we go live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. Also, we know you got to do this. You got to visit fbcgear.com. It's fbcgear.com. It is the place to go to get all of your Pro 2A swag. I'm talking t-shirts. I'm talking tank tops. I'm talking coffee mugs, hoodies. You name it, we've got it. We've got stuff for the home and for the office, and even so that you can look good during the Rona. But all you got to do is go to fbcgear.com. Now, the best part is every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. So you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fbcgear.com. All right, we're all about, talking to folks and bringing folks on from all across the country who are fighting for the fundamental right to keep and bear arms. And so I had to, after I saw him as one of the keynote speakers at an event in Detroit, or not in Detroit, Michigan, in Michigan, at the Capitol, at the state Capitol there in Michigan. I had to have him on to talk about the event that they had there, and that would be Mr. Rick Ector from Legally Armed in Detroit. Rick, how are we doing, sir?
Hey, man, I am great. And I'm a bust your chops, man. The state capital of Michigan is Lansing.
I know. I'm just so used to you being in Detroit. I figured you were still on house arrest. I figured you were house arrest. I figured you're. I figured
I am your friend, man. I'm gonna bust the chops. The state capital of Michigan is Lansing.
Well, I figured you were still on house arrest or something like that, and that your ankle monitor didn't take you beyond.
Man, you know what? I that still has a bitter taste in my mouth, man. Being confined to my house, and it's not like being confined, but it's like you have nowhere to go because everything is closed down. So yeah, you might as well stay at home. Oh, it was the most miserable period I can think of within the last, I don't know, decade, man, where you're just in the house with nothing to do and nowhere to go. Oh, man, it was just awful.
Man, I can only imagine, man. I can only imagine. So, but you did have a chance to get out recently, and it was at the state capitol in Lansing. Tell us a little bit about the event.
Well, this is the event that's called the Second Amendment March, and it's been ongoing for like the last 11 years. Got a bunch of gun rights advocates just over a decade ago. They thought that it would be a good thing to have all of us come together to assemble and to state what our goals and objectives are for the upcoming year, ostensibly to show our support for the Second Amendment. And if there's any relevant legislation that needed to be, given a lot of attention and to publicized among the general populace. This was our opportunity to do that, man. And the thing that I love about it is the same things that I admire about other gun rights events around the country, such as GRPC. With GRPC, we have a bunch of people coming from across the country coming to one area. But on a smaller scale, this gun rights event that we do here in Michigan at the Capitol, it's all of the gun rights advocates from all across the state of Michigan, from the Upper Peninsula to the Lower Peninsula. And it gives me a chance to see those people, that I don't see on a regular ongoing basis. So, man, it's always a lot of fun. But when we're there enjoying each other's company while we're exercising our right to assembly, we're also there to take care of business. And by taking care of business, we're there to state our support fervently for the Second Amendment and the things that are of issue for us and the things that we want to highlight. And of course, when you look at the stark contrast of the two people who were running for president, man, with regards to the Second Amendment, there couldn't be a more stark choice.
No, there could not. But now here's something, and this is really the reason I wanted to have you on to touch on this. So if you look at the media accounts of the event, It largely looked like an open carry militia event. Now, I know that wasn't what it was, unless I'm wrong. Was that what it was?
When you see the media coverage, and you know what, media is a mixed bag, man, because one, you do want media to be there so that they will tell folks that you were there, and hopefully they do a decent job of explaining why you were there. We were there, and we were there meeting with the purpose of assembly and stating what we wanted and to engage our effective legislators. But when the media, recounts it, or they come out and they put the cameras on and they start taping, recording us, they always fixate on the brothers and the people who are wearing camouflage, who got on boots, and that are in the militia. Now, here, let me say this first and foremost. Most militias that I've come across, as a matter of fact, I haven't had any negative experiences with any of the organized militia here in the state of Michigan. Many of those guys I count as friends, and we see at the militias. I'm glad to see them guys. Hey, give them a hug and say, hey, man, good to see you. What's going on? And we get caught up. But when you see multiple news media outlets characterize the whole rally of 1,000+ people, and the only people they show in the shots that they're putting in their news story are of people who are just dressed in boots and camo, it gives a certain feel to the entire event that was not present. I mean, they were like a very small percentage of people who were in the population, but those very same guys and gals who are in the camo and who are supporting the Second Amendment, they are good people, and I love those guys. Guys love me back, and man, I love to see them at the rallies because they're really cool people, and but the media, they have a job to do, man, and it's to sell certain images, tell incomplete stories, show you certain visuals, and then all of a sudden,
but that ain't their job. Come on, man. I hear what you're saying. That's what they do, but that's not their job. You and I know their job is to tell the story of what happened. The who, the what, the when, the where, and the why. And when they distort it like that, it's because they have a story. They've showed up with a story they want to tell. And they're going to make sure that the story, even if it's fiction, that's the story they're going to tell. And the worst part is that then they try to pawn it off as news.
Well, like I said, there were people in camo there, people in the militia there, and great, they were there, and show that they were there. But when you give them so much coverage that all that the viewer is left with is that the thought that everyone was there, that every 1,000+ person was there, was in the militia, and that they were in camo and they got on boots, that sends a certain message to the people who are viewing the story and to people all over the country. And, I guess the media has a job to do, and whether it's right or wrong, their job is to sell stories, but the visuals don't do the event justice, and it doesn't adequately fairly characterize what happened,
Well, now here's, so let us be clear. So you had a gathering of over 1,000 people. I'm assuming there were no riots.
There were no riots. There were no incidents of violence, no looting. From what I can ascertain, everyone I saw was visibly armed, whether it was with openly displayed handguns or with long guns. Quite to my surprise, we didn't have any agitators from the outside, coming in and trying to stir things up or start a confrontation or do a counter protest. It was, for all purposes and intent, uneventful, other than the fact that there were over 1,000 of us visibly armed people there who were lobbying for our rights, and there were numerous speakers and presentations, and we had a great time, man, and it was peaceful, and I think we got our point across. I think the media, did a disservice to us with the visuals, and then they call the event, they call it the open carry march. No, it's not an open carry march. They say it's an open carry march like we're just stressing our support for open carry. No, this event was in support of the bigger, more expansive description of gun rights, which does include open carry, but it also includes, concealed carry. It concerns, to be able to keep and bear arms, whether you're in your house or whether you're on the street, whether you're at a rally. It shows our support for all of the gun rights for everyone. And when they call it an open carry march, that in itself is deceitful to the fact that, like, we're only concerned with one small segment of gun rights, which is open carry, and it's not. It's much more expansive than that.
Right. Well, and they throw around the term open carry like revolutionary, like open carry is synonymous with
Right?
we gonna overthrow the government. And that kind of leads me
Right.
to my next question. Were you at the Open Michigan event, the one that it became kind of infamous, where you had people who were, once again, people who were open carrying, but people who were some people who were not exact, who were what's the word? Well, they were yelling at people, and they weren't exactly
Well, I
a
saw that
positive
event.
example. Yeah. Were
Well,
you
I
at?
saw that event, and I
Okay.
wasn't at that event. There
Okay.
was
All
an
right.
event that I was at in which I was the sponsor and the lead person organizing, but it was
I
something
remember that.
totally different.
Okay. All
I
right.
was there in protest of violence,
Right.
with the
I remember
Ahmaud
that. Yeah.
Arbery and a couple of other unfortunate, shooting killings of black people, which was
Okay.
different.
Right.
But you know what? It's only because of scheduling and unavailability that I wasn't at those other events. And when I look
Right.
at how those events were characterized, it was like a bunch of people with guns. They went to the Capitol to engage their legislators, and they were. Were some of them loud? Sure, they were. Were they demonstrating? Yeah, they were. Were they chanting? Sure, they were. Were they armed? Yes. Were there any incidents of violence? Was violence being used as a tool to get their political point made? No, no, and no. And then there was even one legislator
Mm-hmm.
who, made such a big stink about it. She said that she was afraid and
Mm-hmm.
scared. So she went and got some people. And it's actually a couple of brothers to come out with guns and
Right.
rifles to escort. And I got to meet the
Mm-hmm.
brother that
Mm-hmm.
that organized that security detail for her. And he's actually a guy that's in support of the Second Amendment. It's just ironic that he was
Right.
providing security for her when she would love nothing more than to
Well,
take
to take
away his
away his right.
backup.
Well, and I guess that's the
That
interesting
whole
thing
thing
about that
is
is
funny.
this. The interesting thing about that whole thing is this, and this is the point that I was trying to make with that, was that's literally one of the worst in terms of visually incidents that people can point to, and there was no violence. There
No,
were no shootings. There was not
nope,
one incident of violence. Some people got yelled at. And that was
yes,
really, I mean, and that's what gets me is I'm like, now you see these protests,
uh-huh,
that turned into riots and looting that the other side, or that the anti-gunners would likely be a part of. And you're like, why are you so concerned about us and calling us violent as people who want to exercise our fundamental right to keep and bear arms? But you have no problem. You have no problem with the people who are actually killing people, who are looting
man.
stores and burning down people's businesses and
And they're
livelihoods.
burning homes, they're burning businesses, flipping cars, they're attacking people that they perceive to be in support of the Second Amendment. They are the epitome of violence and thugs and criminals. Look, as a Second Amendment supporter, it's my fervent belief that the Second was created to safeguard the First, most ostensibly against our government. And let me tell you, I have demonstrated publicly both against our government or against the policies that I perceive to be hostile to our individual rights. I am a huge supporter of the First Amendment as much as I am the Second, right? The framers said the Second was to protect the First. And even if you and I disagree about what you're demonstrating about, here's the thing: I support your right to demonstrate. Once you start flipping cars, burning buildings, attacking people, engaging in criminal behavior, you should be held accountable. You should be arrested and you should be charged to the fullest extent
Bit
of the
of the
law.
law.
We had our demonstration. I wasn't there personally, but those first demonstrations we were talking about, yeah, they were loud. Yeah, they were vocal. Yeah, they did a lot of finger pointing. And you know what? A lot of yelling and screaming. But you know what? Not one act
Act of
of
violence.
violence.
Not one.
Nothing was destroyed. Nothing was torn up. No one was beaten up. No one was shot. And nothing was set on fire. Can you say that about these so-called non-violent protesters we see right now who are operating with impunity because their local politicians or elected officials are silently giving them permission and encouraging them to tear up their cities?
If you are
Complete.
not, if they are not having them arrested and prosecuted, then they are in fact giving them permission.
And they're giving them permission, and they're encouraging them.
Yep.
They're encouraging them to break the law. And
Exactly.
and you know what? Those people need to be booted out of office. They need to be recalled. And you know what? They should not be in office long. I mean,
No.
get them out at the
Your
first available
the
opportunity.
the number one role of government is to protect the citizenry, to protect the people. And if you're not
Mhm.
going to do that, if you're not going to, by enforcing the law, protect people, then you have no business being in government. Period. What's the point? There is no point to it.
Well, if you believe like I believe in what the true, role of government is, yeah. But once the government starts encouraging people to break the law and to engage in violence, well, gee, I really think that they are the epitome of why we need government to keep people like that from ever exerting their influence or destroy the foundation of our political system. Man, there are people holding elected office that I can't. I don't think it would be a stretch to even call them traitors, man, for
Yeah.
the unrest and the violence that they're allowing and that they're encouraging.
Yeah.
But it's just me and my opinion, man.
There
But
you go.
I
So
find I find it rather disappointing.
do me a favor. If folks want to hear more about your work and your opinion and the stuff you're doing, how do they find you? How do they find Legally Armed in Detroit?
Man, you just said the principal means, man. I am legallyarmedindetroit.com. It's a gun rights advocacy site that I do here in Metro Detroit. Amongst the many things we do is provide free shooting lessons for women. Not too long ago, maybe just over a month or so, me and my group and our volunteers, we trained almost 2,000 women in 2 days how to operate a
Just
firearm.
a
I'm on all,
hair shy, a hair
man,
shy of
it's a hair
2000.
shot. I'm on all social media sites, Detroit CCW, Rick Ector, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. And man, I over 2,200 videos on YouTube and growing, man. And if you're out there and you have a show, well, it might not be as great as Craig's show here, but if you got a decent looking show with a decent audience, you don't need all the thousands upon tens of thousands of viewers this guy has. Give me a call. Hey man,
Excellent.
you rock. I'm giving you what we used to say back in the day. Your propers. You are
Thank
the
you.
man. You know what? It's always an honor to be on your show. Thank you for having me. I don't know the next big rally we're gonna have, man, but I look forward to seeing you in person. That whole virtual thing we just did for GRPC was great. I enjoyed being a part of the project, but nothing can
Nothing.
supplant face to face, commentary and face-to-face interaction,
Yeah.
being there in person and having the opportunity to network, over a beer or two, after all the days worth of presentation. It was great this year, man, but it pales in comparison to my personal
It does.
experience
It does.
years
So hey,
before.
man, maybe we'll have to if it actually happens, maybe we'll get a chance to connect at shot.
Well, is it going to happen?
I don't see any signs that it's not. At least I haven't seen anything yet. Vegas is open.
Okay.
We might have to make this happen, baby. Anyway, folks, once again, thank you for coming on the program, Rick. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Ector from Legally Armed in Detroit. All right, folks. Well, hey, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.